I've read and I've heard that people with trauma backgrounds or who have lived in abusive environments, we become over explainers. And I hate it whenever I read that because I am very much an over explainer. But I think I got in the habit of over explaining because when you grow up with this really like overwhelming, oppressive personality as a parent, you feel like you're always trying to say the right thing that would make someone pay attention or notice you. And so it amounts to a lot of explaining without anyone ever listening or caring, or now that I'm in this situation, believing. So apparently under-explaining doesn't work either, because I was locked up for 7 months and it didn't elucidate anyone. So then I'm like, well, how do I explain things so that someone will take a notion to believe me? I mean, people think it's a joke, but I really have just always hoped that someone would take the time to troll me. I mean, it used to be on Instagram. It's so weird. Like, I've never had anyone be mean to me on like OnlyFans or even thirst traps for OnlyFans. But like, if you're just like, hey, I'm in the garden and I'm happy on Instagram, people are just like, I hate you and you're ugly. And so I was like, well, and especially like with domestic violence, for some reason, they'll just go through the threads and just be like, I want to kill you and your face, when you're just like posting a picture of your kid. So I thought, well, eventually maybe someone will troll me and it'll be amusing enough that they'll stumble on the truth. But that hasn't happened either. So I guess it sounds like I'm trying to think of everyone I know and tell every secret about everyone that I know. And that is the strategy, kind of, because so here, I'll start over explaining. People don't believe me. People will watch the videos and believe that federal crimes happened to me. I guess people maybe believe that at some point an investigation was started, but it just, I guess, well, I do know why, because as far as I know, it doesn't happen. It just is not a thing that women are surrounded, overwhelmed with protective surveillance without somebody at an agency talking to them about it. That doesn't happen in America. But a lot of things happen in America that don't happen in America. We also don't have concentration camps. We have so many things that don't happen here that what I just described, that's happening. I'm trying to be tricky there. I don't think it's working. People think when I talk about, a couple of U.S. Marshals, that's what it is. Like, oh, the other day I thought someone followed me. It's much more invasive than that. Very, very many more people. And people around me have noticed and agreed. But mostly I don't have a lot of people around me who aren't law enforcement, and the law enforcement don't talk about themselves being law enforcement. And the first time I was arrested was when I posted on Instagram when Merrick Garland was still the Attorney General. Merrick Garland is hiding corruption in the Cook County Democratic Party, and I was arrested, I think the next day. For something they alleged had happened a couple weeks earlier. I mean, the first time I thought I noticed somebody who looked very federal law enforcement was actually like February of 2022. I was at a truck stop in Iowa. I don't know if that was a coincidence. It was when my ex, a different trader who was more age appropriate, but just a different version of asshole, we were going to Mexico. And yeah. People are going to judge me for this. He, as a trader, had to be tested every week, and I didn't I didn't want to get my trip to Mexico canceled. Like, I had to be vaccinated for work, but I didn't have to be tested. So if he got tested, he'd have time to get COVID and recover, but I would have to quarantine. So I thought if we would just both try to get COVID, then we could go to Mexico because we'd have time to get it and recover. So I thought if we went to an all-you-can-eat buffet at a casino, we could both get COVID. And only he got it. So it makes me think maybe I had gotten COVID earlier. Judge away, I really needed a vacation. But then I was like, I wonder, like, those guys just seem very federal agent-y. I can't describe it. But I didn't really notice it all the time until May 2022. And then from May 2022 onward, it was all the time, very, very many people and airplanes. And people will say things like, I don't think they'd use airplanes. I think they'd use drones. It's like, they use drones too. But you know why they use airplanes? Because they like flying in fucking airplanes and they have unlimited budgets. Do you know why they fill up my yoga class? Because they really like yoga and it's fun. Do you know why they fill up Starbucks? Because they like Starbucks and it's covered. It's that simple. But I guess supposedly there's some security reason. And I know that sounds crazy. I have not been arguing that my life is not crazy or that it's super bearable. But so an example, whether I'm here or not, at some point somebody could use FOIA or something to prove. Like, this is a day, July 8th, 2022. That was when I was trying to sue. I was filing a federal civil rights suit against the guardian ad litem, attorneys, judges, clerk, everybody, a color of law lawsuit saying my rights had been deprived under color of law and other allegations. But my main goal was just to not have these people hurt me anymore. And I was hoping to prevent losing my kids. So I thought if I could get an injunction to another federal court, they couldn't hurt me anymore. And in fact, I believed, according to the plain letter of law for the Illinois Code of Judicial Conduct, that a judge may not preside over a proceeding in which any party in that proceeding is a party in a lawsuit, or someone in their family is a party in a lawsuit involving that judge. Now, I believe according to the plain letter of the law, Judge Johnson is not supposed to be my judge because he has retained counsel that has been filed in lawsuits involving me, and he still was able to take my children away. But I was hoping to prevent it at this point. So according to the federal rules of civil procedure, I was not able, not a formal rule in the federal rules of civil procedure, but federal judges want everybody to waive service. That means they want every lawyer or pro se litigant, when you email and say, I want to serve you a federal complaint, do you waive service? What that means is they say, yeah, you can email it to me. And I'm not going to say she didn't serve me. But if they don't waive service, that means you can have to chase them with a U.S. Marshal or any adult over the age of 18 who's not the complainant. So I could not serve the federal complaint, but I could serve the motion for a preliminary injunction. As I recall, I could serve that directly, but I could also leave that in a place of business, like a mailbox or a counter, like a mail counter, like when you drop off a package at a front desk. So back to the surveillance. On July 8th, 2022, I was trying to serve Michael Bender, who is a retired judge, the son of a powerful former judge in Cook County and a patron in the Chicago machine. He can pick judges, he can sell child custody, he sold my children's custody, and this is a qualitative judgment, but he is profoundly unappealing and does not, when he communicates to you verbally, I don't know if he can write, but when he communicates verbally, he does not communicate as someone who would ever be able to pass like junior year of high school, much less the Illinois bar. I know that, to be a lawyer, supposedly he passed the bar. I would love to see proof that that could happen. He doesn't demonstrate that. He's really, this is just because for him to be so powerful is really confusing because he is so unlikely, so unappealing, so without any strengths or merit. So I believe whatever power he has in the Chicago political system has to do with his father and his family. It's nothing to do with his charm. Maybe he has massive amounts of money, but again, I think that came from his father. But because I was trying to serve him in a lawsuit, I went to his office building on North Michigan Avenue. I think it was a Friday. I know it was an afternoon in July. And when I got to the security desk, it should have been a situation where I just handed the envelope to the two gentlemen working at the security, but they wouldn't take it from me. They really were backing up and holding their hands up and not taking it from me. But what was strange is one of the guys was on the phone. And I'd been to Michael Bender's office before. I'd been ordered to go there. But I wasn't there to see him or see anyone in his office. I certainly didn't communicate wanting to be close to Michael Bender. In fact, I'd always been fearful and hyper aware that approaching a judge could be very dangerous legally. It's very easy to say as a judge that someone is stalking you. It's very easy to say someone threatened you. And I knew very well the reputation of Cook County Jail, and that if I would be arrested and charged with threatening or assaulting a judge, that something really bad could happen to me in jail in one of the areas where they don't have cameras. And so that is something I was aware of. But when I was at this office and trying to serve Michael Bender, the gentleman the security guard called up and was talking to me as if the office was going to send me up. And they were having me wait because they were getting something together. Somebody was going to come down or something was going to happen. And just the delay was happening that was just too long. And something in my gut said, you have to get the fuck out of here. So I put the envelope down in plain sight in an office where both of them saw it. So it had been served. And I left the building.
What's that? Oh, sure. Thank you.
And I used to live in the city and would drive in. I always parked across from North Michigan Avenue. There's this area with a bunch of hotels. There's street parking around there. So I went and got my car and got onto Michigan Avenue. And I lived in the northern suburbs. So I was trying, it's a couple blocks before you get onto Lakeshore Drive. And that's where it got weird. After I really had this feeling that Michael Bender was trying to call the police or somehow entrap me, that could be a delusion. It could be intuition. It was just this fear that I had. I I headed north, and this should be documented because it involves at least 20 or 30 people working for the state of Illinois or working using fire trucks, police cars belonging to the city or the state because they closed Lakeshore Drive like as I got on the Lakeshore Drive, there were fire trucks and ambulances and police cars lined up closing traffic so I could drive north. And I drove north really quickly. Normally at 5 o'clock, you don't go quickly up Lakeshore Drive. And normally police officers don't close it for you. And normally they don't wave at you when you go by. And that happened. And that's true. And that's weird. And it's unbelievable. And I mentioned that because, when I got out of jail, I was still on an ankle tether and I was dating a guy. He was nice, but he was still like obsessed with his wife and currently married. And I've learned not to date married men, even when they say they're separated. But at one point, I spoke to him and I mentioned, just because he should know, I am under federal surveillance, and I described it. I just said, yeah, and I, described how I had been under federal surveillance and why I believed it was. And he definitely believed me because I had been at his house the other day or a few days before this conversation. And he said, yeah, right after you left, I remember I looked up and there was an airplane flying low and circling around. And I said, yeah, that's pretty standard. But as he was talking to me, he was on a job site. He worked in construction that was like an hour or two away. And he was driving on the highway. And as he was talking to me, yeah, there's a guy behind me in a car with government plates with Ray-Bans. And he's laughing at me. I mean, you could ask Jason if that happened. I mean, it's a guy. When it first happened, it was in May because it was Memorial Day, and I was driving from Chicago to Michigan with my boys. And this was when I had first started seeing agents at like the boys' soccer games and around the house. And we stopped at a rest stop, and I took my younger son inside to use the bathroom. Oh no, I took Angus inside to use the bathroom, and my younger son stayed in the car, Teddy. And when Angus and I came out, Angus was laughing and pointing because in the grassy field behind the rest stop, a small airplane was taxiing and hiding behind a tree. And he thought that the plane was playing hide and go seek, which I think it kind of was, which was kind of funny. We said to our other son, did you see that? And he said no, because I had jumped down onto the floor of the car because another plane flew so low over the car that it scared him. And it's just things like that, only every day, multiple times a day, and nobody believes me. And I got locked up. Does 18 minutes count as over-explaining? Check. So, now you understand what over-explaining looks like. My point was, my life took an unusual turn, and I'm trying to figure out why or who. And so I started thinking about my weird ex-boyfriend / sugar daddy. This isn't somebody I thought of with this case because I was issued whistleblower numbers for testifying about my ex-husband's tax crimes. Those things aren't debated. Everyone knows that happened. He just doesn't have to go to jail for it because he's rich and I'm not. And laws aren't real. But, so I don't know who these people are. But, So, I was thinking of him because I'm trying to think of anything, but also because people were talking about Les Wexner and Jeffrey Epstein, and it just made me remember when my ex was a trader in Chicago in the 80s and 90s, that because he liked to brag about people that he would know and money he used to make. He made a lot of money. He was a big swinging dick. That's a term for traders. He's fine, but his big market was the limited stock, and at that time I hadn't had much options experience. I was probably a licensed stockbroker, but I don't think I'd sold or traded any options. And I didn't think about him being connected to that case at all. I still don't know that it is, except the same people who buried the Epstein case buried me and buried my case and buried 1,000 other women. So it just seems all the buried women might be connected, since the people burying them seem to be connected.